Steve and Meet again, another Bullseye Guy podcast coming to you from international. A lot of travel, but the great news with Zoom, I love Zoom where I'm doing the recording, little computer, little ring light. We're always set and ready to go, trying to look as professional as possible. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about NFTs. Is there any such thing as an NFT? What does an NFT stand for? What does it do? Well, the basic NFT stands for non-fungible token. Does that really tell us anything? Not a lot. Let's start at the basics again. I'm a big proponent of not what the technology does or how it works, but what it does for you. And what I mean by that, it's like trying to figure out how the internet works, right? How many of you know the internet? You raise your hand. No, I know the internet. No, the internet's a bunch of FTP coding. How does it work for you? You have a website. The website's the tool, the internet's the technology. So let's separate them for a minute. The NFT to me is the tool. The underlying component of the blockchain and the smart contract is the technology. The tool is enabled by the technology, but it allows you to do things you can't do in traditional, what we're going to call Web 2 or Web 2.0. The new Web 3.0 that's coming out, people don't really know. So a lot of times I'm like, oh, what's Web 3.0? It's about protecting your data. It's about owning the data. There's so many things you can own. All that's cool. I have a completely different take on it. All right. So let's begin with, to me, there's no such thing as an NFT. And what I mean by that is the non-fungible token exists. However, most people, just like crypto, right? Most people think, oh, there's a cryptocurrency and it's a currency. They're not. The cryptos are doing a bunch of things. We've got all kinds of information out there on it. What I mean by that is very simple. The non-fungible token, most people think of it as being art. That's what took off. Open Seas, Bored Ape Yacht Club. You're buying a piece of art on a non-fungible token, which technically and simply is giving you a better certificate of authentication. If I buy a print or a painting, they come with a certificate of authentication, the provenance. And that's usually paper. Not that it can be forged, but it's really difficult to track. On a non-fungible token, the technology is the smart contract or the blockchain. It says you own this asset. It may be the only one, or it may be one of 4 or 5 or 10 or 50 or 100 or 1,000. But it's a certificate of authentication attached to that asset that makes it easier to track, easier to prove ownership. And then within there, you can do more things that might increase the value of that. And that's really what I'm going to talk about more. We've got a couple cool company projects coming out. And again, for those of you that know me, you know I do this and I'm relatively good at. For those of you that don't, you'll learn very quickly. I don't like saying we're doing an NFT platform because people are like, oh, you're doing art, or oh, what's any different? So I like to come up with new terms, specialized terms that are similar. Again, I call it retrospective evolution. How do you look backwards and go, oh, what worked? And let's move it forward. I'll give you an example. One of the companies we have coming out is doing NFBs. You're like, NFB? What's an NFB? I've never heard of that. Exactly. Right? Mind is like water, path of least resistance. That's what Confucius said. If you say, oh, it's an NFT, people's mind's going to go down what they think they understand. If you say NFBs, what is that? Now you've got a blank canvas to describe. And what are NFBs? Simple, non-fungible books. That's it. Now, the technology of the NFT, which we're calling an NFB, allows you to do different things that are really, really super cool. But primarily, the book publishing world exists. It's a $140 billion market. It exists in the physical world. You can sell a physical book, and it sells in the digital world. You can sell a PDF. That's kind of the Web 2.0. The PDF doesn't allow you to do a lot of other things. You go to Amazon, you go to Kindle, you buy the book, you own the book. That's it. If you want to resell it, maybe you can resell it. Hard to resell digital books, but you can physical books. But that is traditional physical and Web 2.0. So we're doing non-fungible books. I'll come back to that one again in a moment. We're also doing NFCs. You're like, well, what's an NFC? Well, an NFC can be a lot of different things, but basically we're positioning it as, if I tell people we're doing a fashion site, they're like, oh, fashion. We're doing a fashion destination, a marketplace for digital fashion, right? There's a couple of them out there, but we think we can do it differently and more uniquely. And what's an NFC? The minute you say that, people start trying to connect and make the leap. I won't do it here for sake of time and efficiency. An NFC in this parameter is non-fungible couture. That's it. Digital fashion, digital dresses. The theory and the idea is we're going to have multiple layers of what's called digital fashion. It's not all metaverse. There's some steps along the way, but primarily we're launching a marketplace. You'll be able to do multiple layers of fashion, physical fashion and digital. But the digital will have some different parameters. One will be what's called a profile overlay or a filter, where you take your existing picture and you overlay some digital piece of couture, something that you want to buy, something that's digital that's representing you in the ownership that you may not have physically. And within there, you can do some cool things. Not only can you do a traditional digital overlay, but you can have that be a filter overlay, and that filter could have some animation and some movement. And now you start to be able to do things a little differently in a digital world that you can't do in a physical world. So again, non-fungible couture. We have a couple others we've crafted and branded, whether we trademark them. Again, maybe this will be my demarcation line in the sand. We also are a proponent of what I created called an FLT. You're like, what's an FLT? Well, this one's really pretty simple. Again, retrospective evolution. It's almost like a points program or a customer loyalty program. There's a lot of customer loyalty programs, right? You sign up and you get an email. But the difference is when you're buying an asset, it's hard to track. If you're buying a ticket from Ticketmaster, they kind of know you. The band doesn't really know you. If you're buying in a secondary market, if you're buying a book from Borders may or may not know you. The book author certainly doesn't know you. So you start having this gap between what we'll call the asset, whether that asset is a ticket from a musician, whether it's a piece of merchandise, whether it's a piece of clothing, whether it's a book, a piece of content. The gap starts to grow because the disintermediation between the content creator and the customer is usually in the technology or the marketplace. And there's some gaps and bridges the technology, again, will enable us to do. What does that mean? What's an FLT or a BLT? We also did not breakfast, bacon, lettuce, and tomato, a brand loyalty token and fan loyalty token. The idea is if you're a band or a musician and you're selling tickets, now you may sell that ticket on what's called an NFT, a non-fungible token. Maybe the NFT stands for non-fungible ticket. Primarily, think of it like this. When you buy a ticket, it has a QR code. And that QR code says that's one ticket for one butt in one seat. Now, theoretically, you're not supposed to be able to duplicate that ticket and resell it. You own that ticket to show that you're in that seat. Where does an FLT come in? A fan loyalty token or a brand loyalty token? We did both. Fan loyalty token says, let's go through a scenario here. We're not doing this one. That's why I'm more inclined to talk about. I think there's some really cool stuff in the music industry. If you're a band, if you're, Linkin Park, if you're, we could go down the list. We know a bunch of these guys, but you're a band and you sell a ticket. That ticket's sold through Ticketmaster, right? So therein is the intermediary. There's the broker. That ticket is sold. And if you're the person buying it because you're a fan and you want to go see, Britney Spears, or you want to go see Taylor Swift, where there was this huge kerfuffle with tickets. You may be a fan that says, I bought this ticket and I want to go. You're a fan. That may be the one show you go to and you saved up for your $500 or $600. But the disconnect between Taylor Swift and you and the fan through Ticketmaster sort of exists. If you bought that ticket specifically to resell it in a secondary market, you might buy that ticket for $600 and you might scalp it, as it's called, in a secondary market. For the longest time, the Ticketmasters, the artists, they didn't make money in the secondary market, the stub hubs and the spin outs. So now that same ticket that might have been $500 or $600 in a secondary market might sell for $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $40,000. The artist traditionally didn't make the accretive value in that secondary market. The artist also didn't know that you bought the ticket just to scalp it. You're not really a fan, you're a scalper. And the difference too is the fan that bought the $600 ticket to go to a concert in Memphis, Tennessee, might also travel to Dallas, might also travel to Chicago. They might be a super fan and they're traveling around because they're a super fan. You start creating a disconnect. And this is important when you break down below what an NFT is to what it does. What does the Web3 allow you to do? A lot of times people say, oh, it lets you own the data. Well, what does that mean? As a consumer, do I want to own my data to market it and try and make money off of my presence? Maybe, but that's not a business. That's not a business model unless you aggregate millions of people. For an artist or a musician, they can say, if I, the artist, sell a ticket, and I know that fan actually went to the concert, they can earn what's called an SLT, a soul token. Says they were actually there. They didn't resell it. They didn't buy it off the market. But a FLT, a fan loyalty token, might say, hey, that person went to the concert. They earn a certain amount of points or tokens or crypto, whatever we call it. And if they actually go back and join the fan club, they can earn a little bit more. And if they come around and actually go to another concert. So the idea of a fan loyalty token or a BLT, a brand loyalty token, works the same. Let's move over to brands. What's the example there? Let's use a purse, high-end fashion. You buy a Chanel, I'm sorry, handbag. I get corrected on that by the fashionistas that I happen to know. Handbag. Here's a Chanel handbag for $4,999, $5,000. And Chanel sells those off of the retail shelves around the world, right? I don't know if they sell millions of them, but they sell a lot of Chanel purses. At the end of the day, the person that might buy that one purse is a consumer. They're not a collector. That fashion collector that's looking for a collection of Chanel purses has been buying them for 5 or 10 years, is buying Fendi, is buying Dior. Not only are they a collector, they're a high-end collector. They're a fan. They're loyal to that brand. And then the brand might come out with, again, we're moving to fashion. I'm kind of jumping lanes here. The brand of Chanel might come out and say, hey, we've got this cool purse, but we're going to do a limited edition. And the limited edition might change a little bit of the fabric or the material. But when you buy it, Chanel goes, all right, they kind of bought it, but how many have they bought? Did they keep it? Or move into a secondary market. Did they buy that purse and resell it in a secondary market, like a My Teresa, like a Real? In that secondary market, again, the brand that might have a $5,000 purse, but because it's limited edition, could get resold in a secondary market or resold later on as vintage. The brand disconnect doesn't make money in the secondary market. The attribute doesn't follow them through the value chain. Web3, blockchain, smart contract, as it's called now, is an NFT. What we're calling an NFC, a non-fungible couture, will be able to fix a lot of that. So when you look at what does it do, the tracking, the traceability, the capability to take a brand, a musician, an artist, a book author, and say, all right, I want to have ownership of that asset. If it's resold, I would like retribution in the resale market because that's value that's lost. I'd like to gain some of that back. And that lets you do a lot of things that are cool. Not what I'm excited about. I think it's cool. A lot of people are working on that. Even the big brands are working on NFTs around primarily traceability, or they're doing NFTs as art, right? Take a purse, create something cool, and then you're selling that NFT as art. The movement towards NFC, so we stay down the couture line, down the digital fashion. NFC is the non-fungible couture, where there's going to be a merge between the physical world, the digital Web 2.0 world, and the NFC non-fungible couture smart contract NF3 world. This is where it gets fun and exciting. And this works well for fashion. It'll work for books. It'll work for music. I'm going to walk you through. Let's use a book author. Books are super easy to explain. This is what we're doing within the platform that's coming out. I can't tell you the name yet, still stealth, but it should be super cool. Book publishing platform. NFTs, what we're calling NFBs, non-fungible books, allows you to do what we call attributes and access. And what are attributes and access? What does that really mean? How does it work? Let's, again, retrospective evolution. Let's go backwards to look at what works in something that we would understand, and let's move it and merge it and massage it forward into something new with the new technology. What do I mean by that? Let's go to art. Not NFT art, not digital art. That stuff's out there, kind of cool. It might or might not work. I don't know. Let's go traditional art. You're an artist. We have this built into our presentation, my buddy Billy Zane. Billy doesn't know this. Billy, Titanic Billy, if you see this, we're using you as an example. Billy's a great artist, right? A well-known global superstar actor, but an amazing artist. Has done some beautiful work. And if you go online, you can find him, Billy Zane's art. He has a piece of art as an example. So he'll do a piece of art. I don't know how long it takes the artist to do. It's a painting. He'll sell that single piece of art for $8,000. That's fine. That's not what we call scalable. That's a lot of work for a single piece of art that you only sell once. It's almost like a book author who spends a lot of time writing a book, but the difference is that book is duplicatable. It can be resold to hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands or a million people, and it scales. Single art doesn't scale. It does, though, if you do something different. Again, traditional art says, oh, here's this beautiful painting. It's a Billy Zane, it's a John Houck, it's a Kandinsky. We, the artist or the publisher, is going to do posters. Right? And just follow me along the lines here, because this is simplistically understanding where technology merges retrospective. You can do a poster. Let's say that poster is $99. And somebody may want a Billy Zane poster of the art. They can't afford $8,000, and they'll do a poster. And the artist, Mr. Zane, might be comfortable selling that because he wants more people to love and enjoy his art, even if they can't buy the original, the 001. There's only one of the original. That's why it's called original 001. But he could do posters and do unlimited posters. He could also do a lithograph. Right now, a lithograph is a higher quality presentation of the art. But what do artists do? They play into the narcissism. They play into the psychology. They play into the collector's consciousness of wanting to say, I own this, and it's limited. Why is this important? In a piece of art, and all of you guys can visualize this, it's nothing like I'm a good explainer. This is simple. When you buy a piece of art that's limited, usually somewhere in the lower right-hand corner, not hidden in the back, not in the frame, not on a certificate you can't show, there's a number. In the lower right-hand number, it says, this is number 5 of 50. And anybody that looks, you're like, oh, I own a Billy Zane lithograph. Wow, that's so cool. Do you know Billy Zane? No, but I own number 5 of 50. And we can play into that. I own something that's exclusive, something that's unique. But right there on the front, it shows the number, and it becomes an aspect of bragging. That concept of the narcissistic, not the narcissistic bad, the recognition, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Recognition is the highest level. We're buying art. Very few of us buy art to put it in a closet and stare at it on our own. Some people do. I know one who's kind of out there like that. Good for him. But most people display the art, and they're proud of it. What makes it even more valuable? Maybe not limited edition, but really rare. Maybe the artist signs it. Oh, I own number 5 out of 50. Did you meet the artist? No, but this one's signed. Right there on the front, Billy Zane, 5 of 50. That has more value. Again, trying to come up with pricing. Maybe the lithograph sells for, I don't know art, so don't be embarrassed, but maybe the lithograph sells for, $499, and there's a certain number. But if there's 100 of them, and he's selling them at 500, he can make as much money or possibly more than the $8,000 print based on pricing and number. If it's signed and limited, well, that becomes even more so, right? So we've got limited edition, then we've got rare, and the rare is signed and numbered. And then we might get something to super rare. Well, what's a super rare? Super rare says, oh, I own the Billy Zane number 5 out of 50. Excuse me, have you met Billy Zane? Oh, actually, I did. When I bought this one, it came with the opportunity to meet Billy Zane. What does that mean? Attributes are things like limited edition, numbers, and signatures. Access is a huge, huge difference. If you could buy a print, right, you could buy a lithograph signed and numbered by your famous artist, by your favorite artist, and it came with access to maybe a Zoom or an access to his next gallery art showing. Or maybe it's priced high enough that he'll show up for an hour and give you a painting lesson. What would you pay for that? Let's say it's a book author. Let's say it's a Deepak Chopra. Deepak's got a new book out. Panush, the guys are doing great. Well, you could buy a normal Deepak book. You could buy a physical book. I don't know the cost. Say it's $24. You could buy a digital PDF off Amazon, and let's say it's $19. And the artist, the book author makes money. The publisher makes money. They still have to give money up to Amazon for the marketplace. But the person that buys that book doesn't really get a lot. The asset, the non-fungible asset is the digital side, but the digital PDF might be $19. And if it's resold, it doesn't have much value. If that same book was done limited edition, where a Deepak as a book author says, hey, here's my normal book and you can buy it and it's great, but here's limited edition. This book is limited to the first 100 or 500. Again, Deepak's got a global audience of millions, so the numbers might be higher. But again, the benefit of flexibility is you can say there's only 100 of this book that are numbered. And that book now goes for $99. And out of that, here's 25 that are signed by the author and numbered. And that book goes for $499. And here's access to a 60-minute meditation with Zoom and the book, physical signed, digital signed, and the access to the Zoom with Deepak, and that goes for $4,900. Now there's $5,000, and there might be a limited number of those. You can add attributes and access onto an asset and increase value. That to me is what's fascinating. You take that with a book, any book that sells for $19 in a PDF, it's a flat web 2.0, that's it. How do you add incremental value? How do you say, I'm going to create limited edition, I'm going to create rares, I'm going to create super rares, and I'm going to have a 001. And that 001, that $8,000 piece of art from a Billy Zane, is the only one, and a digital representation as a 001 and access to the author, that becomes a game changer. Same thing with fashion. Let's do the overlay. Where's fashion? Chanel's got a handbag, $5,000 physical. Digital, they might be a normal digital one that they price. They don't want to crush their brand, but they know digitally there may be, 10,000 people around the world that spend $5,000 for a handbag, but a digital overlay, not a digital twin, just a digital overlay of that bag. Eventually, there might be 1 million people that'll buy it for $99, and you make $100 million or $10 million with a digital asset. No impact on the environment, no sustainability issues, no distribution, no merchandise, no discounts, no sales, flexible pricing for that. Then you do limited edition, and now in digital, you take your limited edition and numbered, but you do what you do in fashion. On the handbag, on the book, you show the number. It's easy on a book cover in the lower right-hand corner. Hey, this is number 5 of 50, or this is 5 of 50 and it's signed. Do what the art world does, but you do it in the digital world and add incremental value. You add attributes. Same thing in non-fungible couture, in the pursing, the pricing, the handbag pricing. Trying to work on that. What you do is you say, here's limited edition and numbered. And you show the number somewhere in the element of the design, something unique, something that flashes where that person says, oh, not only do I own that, the collectors, the fashionistas, the people that know and will appreciate go, oh, you own number 50 out of 100 or number 5 out of 100. That has value. That non-fungible couture piece, the next level up on a super rare, might be signed by the designer of Chanel. It might be designed by the artist. There might be something cool and unique that makes it even more valuable. And then the super rare might say, hey, if you buy this handbag, not only is it limited edition, not only is it numbered, not only is it signed, it comes with the physical twin, what's phygital. So you get the physical purse, you get the digital purse, you own it, you own the signature, you own this right, and it comes with a front row ticket to Paris Fashion Week with the Chanel team. It comes with access to Met Ball. And you tell people that, they're like, oh, Met Ball's exclusive. It's $30,000 to get in. Yeah, and not everybody can get in. Not everybody can buy a ticket, but a lot of people might want to, and some people can afford it. If that phygital access, right? A physical purse, a handbag, physical handbag, the digital twin, the access to tickets at the Met Ball, the Met Gala with the Chanel team, that might be $100,000 package. I have friends with the Vatican Church. They're selling access to the Pope for a dinner. It's $55,000 for a dinner and a picture. People will pay for access. So that Web3 lets you do that. Let's do some extensions, right? Let's say you're the person who bought that handbag, bought that book from Deepak that comes with a Zoom session or a meditation session, and you kept it and you used it because you're a fan. You wanted to go, you wanted to attend. Well, that's where a brand loyalty token or fan loyalty token comes in and says, oh, this person's a fan. They bought this and they attended. That's different than if they bought that and resold it. Again, using a handbag. If you have a limited edition numbered handbag, number 5 out of 50, and that has extended value in a secondary market, that handbag that might be in here for $25,000 because it's limited edition and numbered might resell in the secondary market, the speculative market, for 40 or 50 or 60,000. If the brand has that digital asset on an NFC, non-fungible couture, smart contract, blockchain, it's all the same, just different front end name, that attribute could have a contract written in that says, for the price here when it's sold, the brand gets X, the marketplace gets a percentage. If that's resold in the secondary world, the marketplace, if it's the same marketplace, also gets a percentage, but the brand gets retributive income. You can track income. You can track ownership. Again, why is this important? You got to put all this together. These are the circles. Let's say that collector that bought that limited edition handbag here directly from you also found another one in a secondary market that might have been a different issuance that you did. Might have been a different handbag that they really wanted. They couldn't get. They went in the store. It was sold out. No more were made. But in the secondary market, they bought a secondary limited edition. That is a fan. That is somebody brand loyal to you. The brand loyalty token allowing you to track into secondary markets, into the retributive aspect of following people through, not in a creepy way. The fans want access. The fans want additional benefit. Give it to them. That's what Web3 is. To me, it's not about the individual consumer owning their data to monetize. I get it. That's cool. You know, maybe somebody will build a business. The business to me is, how do you take a musician that has a huge fan base and close the gap between the artist and the fan? And how do you give that fan additional attributes on a piece of music? How do you give them attributes? How do you give them access to things they can't traditionally get, but they would be willing to pay for? That to me is the promise and the premise and the future of what most people think are NFTs and art. It's broader than that. The non-fungible token is really the technology like the internet. It's the blockchain. It's the smart contract. It's not what it does. It's what does it do for you? As a brand, as an artist, as a musician, as a book author, it allows you to do amazing things that you can't do in traditional Web 2.0. You can't do with traditional physical books or physical items or physical clothing, and you can't do with traditional PDF. There are some exciting things coming with the new technology when it's used properly. And as the fan, as the consumer, there are things you're going to be offered that should give you more incremental value and benefit, again, than just buying a book off Amazon or a ticket off of Ticketmaster or wherever. I don't think people buy music anymore. It's streamed, but maybe that'll change and the artist will do it. So that's my what is an NFT. I have some experts coming in. They might agree or disagree with me. We're going to do a couple more on these, but Stephen Me, the Bullseye Guy, that is my podcast for what is an NFT.